Hello and welcome to episode 91 of our Conversations to Connect Let's Get Real podcast powered by Exceptional Connections. I'm Cyndi O'Neill-Dady, the founder and chief connector of Exceptional Connections since 2009. Our conversation to connect today is with the amazing Rachael Barclay, joining us from Seattle, Washington. Welcome, Rachael.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad you're joining us today. And I think you listeners are in for a treat. So you're going to find Rachel's insights incredibly timely and valuable as we explore AI and how it's changing the way customers find and choose businesses. So before we dive into our conversation today, I'd like to introduce this amazing exceptional connector and entrepreneur who's helping businesses navigate one of the biggest shifts in marketing today. So Rachael Barclay is the founder of the Savvy Digital Company, where she where she helps founders and small businesses get found and chosen in the age of AI. She spent 15 years in executive operations as the youngest executive at the Columbia Tower Club. So she is truly an exceptional connector. Before trading the corporate ladder for building her own thing. And now she builds the brand strategy, automations, and AI systems most owners don't have time to figure out themselves. And that's so true. She hosts the You're Allowed podcast and lives in downtown Seattle with her partner and their daughter, Luna. So, Rachael, tell us a little bit more about your journey as we kick off discussing Get Found by AI.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much again for having me on. Getting to know this community and you is such a pleasure. My career began at 17 as a hostess. So my whole life I've been in hospitality and being able to connect in that way just sort of made you better at doing those things. And that sort of evolved through restaurants and hotels. And then I finally found my way into the private club world. And that was right before COVID started, and that sort of turned my one job into five jobs, as it did for a lot of people. And that's sort of where I think meeting entrepreneur members, I caught the bug, 9 years ago, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you can do your own thing. This is so crazy, and so. I think that's where the match was lit. And I actually started the Savvy Digital Company when I was still in corporate, in private clubs, just to see if I liked it. And I did. And so, I've been doing this for 3 years or so. But since October, I've been doing it full time. And that's sort of how we arrived here. The podcast is just another way to connect, like you're doing yours. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs find themselves doing many, many things. And so that's how we got here and learning new things every day, especially with AI and all of that. But
And there's so much to learn right now, isn't there? It's
every day.
crazy world out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So, okay, big shifts are going on. So, Rachel, many business owners are still focused on traditional Google search and SEOs, right? So, what's the biggest shift happening right now, happening today that entrepreneurs need to understand about how customers are finding businesses? So, this is one of the things that you focused on at our recent Exceptional Connections networking luncheon. We were honored to have you as our spotlight speaker.
Yeah, thank you. It was so fun to speak, and everybody there was so engaged with the topic, which just made it so much easier and more fun to do. But what's shifting right now is that the traditional SEO, search engine optimization, that's no longer because the way that people are finding things is changing. It's changed. It's different now than it was a week ago, a month ago, certainly 6 months ago, a year ago, and that is AEO. So that is answer engine optimization, and there are a few more, but AEO is really the one I've been focusing on because it creates the most impact for business owners. And I learned all of this through trying to do it for myself. And so what AEO is that you used to, everybody's familiar, I think, as a business owner with SEO. It's how do you get found? How do you get links to link back to you, right? How do people find you in the digital world? And AEO is the new one, and that's people are searching Google, yes. But if you notice when you search in Google, you see Google AI at the top, and that pulls from very specific things, and more than that. But it pulls from your website. It pulls from Google Business Profiles. It pulls from your reviews. It pulls from a lot of different things. But what used to work 4 or 5 years ago doesn't work now. And I don't think a lot of people know that. And so I'm very passionate about doing that with my clients and with myself and with anybody that needs it. Because if you get on the train now or the bus or whatever mode of transportation you want to call it, you'll be ahead, which would be great because as a business owner, it's hard with marketing and social media and all of that. And so that's what we're focusing on now.
That's a great word to use, not relevant, because we want to be relevant as business
Right.
owners. We need to be able to pay attention to the changing winds that are, coming through and all the different changes. So thank you for that. So you say that every business owner should ask ChatGPT, Gemini, or Perplexity about their business. So tell us about that, because we had a little exercise we did. You know, during your talk, and we learned where how we showed up, how we optimized, right? So what
Mhm.
should they ask, and what might they discover that surprises them?
Yeah, well, I think what they should ask, I could answer that question several ways, but I have a tool that you can type in your domain, your website, up to 10 times a day, and it will do all of the things for you, meaning it will ask ChatGPT, it will ask Gemini. I mean, there are so many answer engines at this point. There's Grok, there's whatever, but I really focus on the ones where you can make impact right away and telling you exactly what to do. So Perplexity is actually the easiest one to get in on because it pulls mainly from your website. And using that tool, you're going to want, can you repeat the question again? I'm sorry. What, so sometimes I go into the AEO
No,
so,
that's
so
okay.
far that I'm like, what?
So
Come back.
there's those different platforms, ChatGPT, Gemini,
Yeah.
Perplexity, that so what should they ask to discover about themselves? And that really the answer that you mentioned is you have a tool that helps
Yes.
with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I sort of skipped over that's the part that I missed. So before you get to the tool, you want to know if you're a real estate broker, right? You want to say, who's the broker in my area or who's the top broker in my area? Because the farther up you surface in that search, the more likely it is somebody is going to click on you, right? And by the time they click on you, that's half the battle. And then converting them obviously into a client or into business for you is what matters. And so there's looking for your own personal brand. You should certainly rank number one for, Rachael Barclay in Seattle for marketing. That would be the goal. But then you also want to see where do you land for top marketing agencies in Seattle. So sort of those two different tracks and how you make them come together.
So it's all about the questions. The question is critical.
It's all about the prompt, really.
Right. Okay. Prompt question, right? Being
Yeah.
able to ask the right prompt to get the correct answer. One thing I found really intriguing is that you were mentioning it's also like reviews are really important. So we're jumping
Mm.
around here a little bit, but it's what information you feed the system. What do you call it? The platforms,
Yeah.
because if it only can give you feedback based on what's already in there. So if you have information in your website, it draws on that. If you have testimonials from your clients, it draws on that. And it also ranks, my understanding is like how that information was received. So like if Gail writes a review about exceptional connections, it'll rate that higher than me touting exceptional connections, right?
Certainly. Yeah. And actually, if you have a picture with the review, that actually ranks more because it gives more fuel for the answer engines to read.
Oh,
And then
nice.
a certain number of reviews helps too. Like if you get to 5, it will surface your star rating. If you get to 20, that's like the next tier of how answer engines, is particularly Plexity, sort of look at your business. And they're like, oh, I want to give whoever's asking me this the best answer, and those are the things that influence what they pull.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get in here. So if someone listening realizes their business isn't showing up in AI recommendations, what are the first three things they should do to become more visible and trusted? Because that's what it's all about right now, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the very first thing would be that you should always test your own website. First of all, it's because sometimes you do your website. Like I'm me. I'm in digital marketing. I do web design. I'm in my website every day. But certainly checking to make sure that your website is loading, make sure that your domain is still attached. I mean, sometimes things happen. So that would be the first thing I would do, because if you have a Google business profile or you have a website and you don't know that it's something's wrong with it, that just eliminates the opportunity for you to surface to enter engines in general. I would say, secondly, going back to Google Business again, you want to make sure that you have reviews. So there is, if you haven't claimed your Google Business profile, then you're definitely going to want to start there and do that. Because once you claim it, and there are a few things you need to do, and Google will guide you through it. But you need to do that in order to get your review link, right? And so rather than, I'm always, how many steps and how much friction can we remove from this process to get to where we need to go? And so if you're telling I'm like, hey, Cyndi, thank you so much for working with me, please go to here and fill out a review. Well, there's also a link, if you've claimed your site, where you can put that in your signature, or you can put that on your website, leave me a review, or anywhere where you get the most traffic, and you can get the reviews right away, because that's the best way for even clients to look on Google Business to find you. And I would say, thirdly, you really want to run a diagnostic on your website. And it doesn't need to be, your website, it could be gorgeous and you could have paid $10,000 for it. But at the end of the day, if you're losing people 30% of the way down, I mean, you got to catch them above the fold, right? So you just want
Right.
to make sure that you have what it is that you do, who do you do it for? I mean, you know this better than anybody, but and everybody in your group does too. But making sure that the copy is there, but also the code underneath. That's what the answer engines read, and that's what the tool is really helpful in doing. Is you don't need to learn all this. I've already done the research. I've put it all together. Run your websites through, run your clients' websites through, your friends, your cousins, whoever you want to, and find out exactly what you need to do to make sure that you're in the fight, as it were, to show up in the search.
I'm going to sidebar here for a second because I went on your LinkedIn and you are known as the dot connector. And so I love that. I'm an exceptional connector. You're the dot connector. So what you just said is critical. And I hope, that I hope you out there that are listening are catching what she's saying, because those basic things that we need to do for our website to optimize it, to make sure it's loading and all that stuff, sometimes we take that for granted. But if that's not you're not going to be able to be in the search, right? You're not going to be able to benefit from rating reviews or whatnot. So you're connecting the dots for us, Rachel, and that's so great. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So exceptional connections, as you know, has always been built on the belief that authentic relationships create lasting business success. So as AI continues to evolve, do relationships become more important, less important, or simply different? How would you, kind of help us to understand this changing landscape?
Well, I spent a lot of my years in leadership, and I think with AI, it's important to not be scared of AI or pretend. I mean, AI is here. It's not going anywhere. There are good and bad, the ugly things about everything. But I think that humanity with the AI relationships matter more than ever now. And so, I think that systems are a kindness, and they allow you to be more human. In fact, I don't think the AI replaces, I think the AI supports, I think the systems support, and I think that it frees us up to do what we do best, which is being our human selves.
I love the way you put that, and we've learned that also through what we went through with the great pause, if you will. That the value of human relationships and how much we need them, and how much even though AI and other technology can save us time, there's nothing that replaces a human relationship, right? In that trust that's built. Um, Okay, so what's the biggest? So thank you for that. Those are great answers, and I appreciate that. Just grounding us in how important relationships are and being able to, of course, have all our dots connected out there. But in the end, it's the heart, it's the reviews, it's the relationships that are king.
Mhm.
So, what's the biggest mistake that you see entrepreneurs making when it comes to their online presence? And what's just kind of a tag on to that? What simple changes can make the biggest difference?
Um, well, I think that sounds like my way to judge everybody, and I certainly don't. But if usually when I look, I say to myself, okay, I look for the area of opportunity, no matter what, right? And that can change, right? Like one day you could be ahead with what is on your website, and then a week later you're not because it's changed, right? And so I don't think it's a mistake, but I think just in general, hiding from the thing you don't understand, right? And
Mm.
I've seen that a lot with AI, which is why I'm so passionate about, okay, I know that what this looks like. And if I told you what it took to figure out what I had to figure out with AEO, I mean, I lose most people. But I think that because AI is here, you can teach yourself almost anything, right? I think me personally, I tend to do more of the things that I enjoy and I avoid the things that I don't. But usually the things that I avoid are the things that I need to do. And so usually I look at, when I onboard with a client or, whether it's somebody that I'm mentoring or anything like that, I pay attention, connect the dots, if you will, about, okay, they've talked a lot about this, but if they're focused over here, if the fire was burning over here, what's over here? Right. So sort of looking in the other direction. So I don't think I would look for any one thing. But I think that usually there's a lot of room for improvement of Google business reviews, but also connecting that to the website because having it over here on an island, for example, the other day I did an audit and the website that somebody ran wasn't the one that was on their Google profile. And so that's a break in the chain right there. Right. And so I think having a list of the things that and maybe having somebody on your team or something that you check once a month, making sure that you're keeping track of all of those things and also keeping content on your website fresh because that also tells all the answer engines, so that's why blogs are king, right? And it used to be
Mhm.
400 to 800 words on a blog. Now they want 1,500 words and more. And
Wow.
yeah, so you used to be penalized for longer
Right.
posts, and
Right.
now it's quite the opposite. So and that's what I'm saying is like it's impossible to stay ahead on all this stuff unless it's what you're doing every day. Um, but just keeps checking. I have a newsletter that goes out with the top 5 new things every month, and that's pretty handy. But the other thing is, if you think that you need to do something, you can always ask AI. You can ask Claude. So just be curious.
I love that. Well, thanks for the tip about blogs because you're right. It makes sense because it's more information. It wants more
Mhm.
information to be able to make assessments and give you feedback, right?
Yeah,
More is better.
exactly,
Um,
exactly.
what also comes to mind as you're sharing is, and this is kind of sharing my perspective with AI. With many things, I've tended to kind of sit back and just kind of let me kind of take it in and let me see where it goes, and it's worth my energy and time to invest in it. But with AI, I jumped in, and not that I'm the expert at it, but I feel like I have a general understanding of it. And we had a skill shop, and we've already had another spotlight speaker share about AI. And because this time I decided I wanted to be an early adapter, I wanted to
Mhm.
have as much time to wrap my mind around this changing technology as opposed to being a late adapter. So where are we in that continuum right now? Are we still in the early adapter phase, or have we, kind of moved on to more of a mid-range, understanding of this new tool?
I think that we're still in the early adopter phase. There's a guy that I follow. His name is not follow. I have all of his books. He's very impressive. His name is Dan Martell, and he has a really interesting story. But he is all things AI and systems and automation, even before AI was a part of the picture. And he was sharing this graph of where he thinks we are going. And he's if we go like this up a graph like that, he's just saying we're right down here because there's so much more, which
Wow.
is so unbelievable to think because what I can do with Claude in a day, I have another startup Vantage. And what I've been able to build with the leverage that I have, that is code. And certainly it's taken me hundreds of hours, but before I would have had to have a team of 10. So back to your question, I do think we're still in the early adopter phase, 100%.
That is so encouraging. So for you who are out there and are feeling very overwhelmed and thinking, oh my goodness, I don't even understand all this terminology. What does this mean? It's not too late. You can jump
No.
on, and we're all wrapping our minds around this and wanting to understand it. Okay, so let's see, Back to the Future. Can I say it that way?
Yeah.
So if we're having this conversation 3 years from now, how do you think AI will have changed the way people discover and choose businesses? Let's start there.
Mm, 3 years is a lot could happen in 3 years. I think there will be a lack of laptop. I can tell you that. It's going to be very laptopless. I don't know what I'm imagining, but I think that it really is going to be integrated into our daily life, it being AI and however we connect. But I do see people sort of, I think the more that society embraces AI, like we were talking about earlier, the more humanity we're going to see come back, right? I like that you called it the great pause, right? The great pause sort of isolated us. And then after that, there's been this introduction of AI. And then there have been people who don't believe in AI or people who poo poo AI and whatever it may be. But I think we're sort of on the swinging back to the other direction. So it will be in everything we own, AI, artificial intelligence, and all of that. But as far as it pertains to business, uh, I will say that if you have a small business and you don't use AI in your business in some form right now, every day, and I don't mean using chat, I mean like integrating it into your business somehow. That's my one recommendation is I would do that now or it will take a long time to catch up. And that's why this AEO is so important because it's a little thing you can do that will compound over time. You start that now, 18 months, you're going to be more than 18 months ahead of people who didn't.
Right. The shift
Yep.
for me is when we had our speaker Molly Clip come, and she shared about AI, and we were able to do uh, answer questions in a prompt that allowed us to have let me see, I'm trying to think of the terminology that's used, give our clone our voice, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then ask it these strategic questions about our business, our greatest fears, our greatest, what is something that we need to be focusing on that we haven't been. And oh my goodness, it was like somebody was reading our mail.
I know.
It
It's
was
pretty incredible.
crazy. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've kind of touched on this, but this is, I think, a really important question for business owners who are like, okay, I'm going to step on the boat. I'm going to, jump on the plane, all those analogies that you used earlier. I'm going to get on board. I'm not going to be left behind. So what are some things that simple, easy, daily things that business owners can start doing now to stay ahead of that curve?
Well, I think that pick whatever model you choose, ChatGPT, although that had a negative news article this morning. ChatGPT, I cannot personally, I don't get anything for it, but I can't recommend Claude enough. Anthropic and Claude are the best tool that I see. I use it every day, all day. I use it for design. I use it for coding my platform. I use it for everything. I use it as my therapist sometimes. Like you were saying, it knows me well. But I would say find a thing, who likes email, right? So a little thing you could do is email triage. You can go into Claude and you can talk to Claude. I mean, I think people know that, but it's come so far since 6 months ago. And you can just brain dump, right? And so I think if you're like, you have all these things in your head, especially as a business owner wearing so many hats, just treat it as your assistant because you can build a full assistant for yourself. And that doesn't mean you replace the one that you have. If you have one, it just means like, that's very empowering, right? And so, how can you empower yourself as a business owner? And that's a really fun way, I think, right? Because you can have Claude, you just speak to Claude and you say, or ChatGPT, but Claude's a better one, in my opinion. Speak to Claude and say, I've connected my Gmail. I want you to triage my email every day at 7 a.m. and send me a report. And I want you to give me the top 5 priorities and sweep my email for the last 7 days and see if there's anything that I haven't gotten to yet. Right. And I think that's really important too, because you can teach that to your team. It'll help keep you accountable. That's one thing I really enjoy using it for. You can also do the search on yourself. You can have it do 1,000 point audit. That's one of my favorite ones to do. Do 1,000 point audit on my website. Look for this, this, and this. Where are my areas of opportunity? Where are my strengths? And then can you do that for my competitors too? And you can have it run that automatically every week for you, right? And it's not to outrank your competition, but it is to see, how everybody else is doing, and are there things you can glean from what they're doing that you could apply, and so on and so forth.
Do you have a list of like even the top 5 questions or prompts? Do you have that on your website, or is that something that, because, there's these great questions that people ask, and then it's like, then they all kind of disappear. But it'd be nice to just have them concisely written down that you can
Mhm.
enter and then, you know, refine as time goes on.
Oh yeah, I have a prompt pack of like 100 prompts that I use, that I just share as people ask for them. So I'm more than happy to share that with you.
Oh, thank you. That's 100 prompt pack.
I have a hundred prompts. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
wow.
prompts for, like an executive assistant, prompts for marketing, prompts for, you know, there's several other categories. I haven't looked at it in a couple months, but
Oh, that's very
I'll,
generous of you. Thank you.
of course. Yeah,
Thank
because the
you.
quality of
And
the prompt affects the quality of the answer that you get, as you noted
well,
earlier.
absolutely. If you ask a good question, right, then you'll get the answer that you want. So the more specific you are, the better.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk to that person that we've been addressing, and they're like observing all of this, and they're saying, "Okay, good. I haven't missed missed the boat. We're still in the early adapter phase." So what are, and again, the prompts are part of this, right? So what are 1 or 2 things that they can do this week to actually move the needle? Let's like roll up our sleeves and be real concrete.
I think, not to promote the tool again, but promoting the tool again, I would say starting with it's www.thesavvydigitalco.com/audit
Okay, say
and
that again slowly.
www.thesavvydigitalco.com. So my website
Right.
slash audit, AUDIT. And that will tell you exactly where your website lands.
Okay.
So that's definitely the first one, and it will tell you sort of what you need to do. But, I think if, and it depends on the size of the team, right? I think great if somebody feels like they're not behind. If you're a curious person and you have the time and you want to look, YouTube is a great place and all of those things. I think getting a picture, a snapshot of where your website is and where your Google, reputation is great. But also, it never hurts to have a consultation with somebody who knows, because then they can give you exactly what they think you should do, and you can either do it yourself or you can have somebody else do it. But that's as far as business is concerned. On the personal side of things, I would say pick the model and stick with it. So if you want to do Claude, if you want to do Manus, people like Manus. If you want to do ChatGPT, again, I can't recommend Claude enough. It's so powerful. And I think every business owner who adopts Claude and sort of plugs it in to automate it, I mean, the way you'll see your business grow, I just like to be around for that, because like, oh my gosh, I didn't know it could do this. It's sort of like tell it your problems. What are you struggling with? That's where I would start. Tell Claude or ChatGPT or whatever where you're struggling. I struggle with this, or I need help with this, or this is the industry I'm in. Just talk to it and tell it what you want to do, what you see, or tell it that you feel like you're behind. Quite frankly, I'm in Snohomish County and I have a carpentry business, and this is the whole situation. You could feed it your financials if you wanted to and say, this is what I'm seeing. Who are my competitors? Do a whole competitive analysis, right? Whatever it is you're struggling with, that's how conversational these AI models are now. And I have so many things that I could say you could try to do with it, but even just talking to it, you'll be so surprised what you come up with.
Wow. Okay. So I'm going to backtrack for a second. So
Yeah.
the savvydigitalco.com/audit, excuse me, I
Yes.
will include this in the description. Excuse me.
Yeah. Of course.
And if you go to the website, you will see free audit. So click on it. It is free, free, free. It takes 60 seconds. You don't have to put a card in, and you'll get all kinds of great information. You'll get a ranking on where you land, right? And then it'll give you tasks, is that correct? On what you can do
Hmm.
to correct and increase your ranking.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and and it's also, where is your business being found besides on your website? So where are you able to find credibility, right? Google business is one thing, we know that. Um, you know, Also, are you in a directory? Are you a part of the Chamber of Commerce? And if so, do they list you in their directory? I have a directory where people are allowed to list their businesses for free, and mine's optimized for just exactly that, AEO. It's very windy. Uh, so yeah, that's just the other part I want
That
to
is so
mention.
generous of you too. And I'm going to open up the lines a little sooner than I normally do because this is such a great topic, and I want to make sure those who are joining us are able to get their questions answered, and we can, continue on if they don't have a lot of questions. But so let's do that right now. If you have any questions based on what we've talked about today or the talk that Rachel, if you were part of our community a couple weeks ago when Rachel spoke, this is a great opportunity to get your questions answered and be able to address this new world of AI. So feel free to just go ahead and unmute yourself. Again, it doesn't have to be a question. It could just be joining our conversation and being able to share your experience with this crazy world and all the fun things that are coming our way. Well, Rachel, I want to, while we're waiting for somebody to unmute themselves, I want to circle back to the Fox 13 interview that you had
Uh,
today, and that you have some great news that you're going to be launching your Vantage voice launch party tomorrow. So tell us about that.
Yeah. I founded a business called Vantage, and so I was a private club operator for 7 years, 8 years, actually. And while I was there, as a dot connector, I noticed, okay, these people have to come. I'm just putting it together because I'm not from the private club world. I didn't grow up with a country club, it's sort of like not where I was coming from. So I was, kind of one of these things is not like the other in many ways. But when I was there, I'm like, okay, so this is how it works. They have to come here and they meet each other. Okay, but what happens after that? Right. And that's one thing that I think Exceptional Connections does really well, right? You have other touch points. Not only do you have several touch points at the meeting, or at the presentation, but you have this podcast, right? That's another point of connection. You have email where you follow up. You encourage people to connect with each other. And so when I was there, I'm like, there has to be something else besides this. And so, like I was mentioning with Claude and a mentor that I was lucky enough to meet, I was able to go through a visioning session, and that's where this all came from. Is a platform and a community that aims to a deliver a public directory for any business nonprofit in the Puget Sound that wants to be listed, and it is optimized for everything we just talked about with AEO,
And that's
and it's
free.
complete
That's
and it's
complimentary,
and it's
right?
free. Yeah, yeah, and
Awesome.
there's a lot of other. Could you monetize it? Yes, but you know, it's really important to me that the culture is a give first culture, and not a gatekeeping one. And it just, I don't ever have any intention with Vantage to charge for helping a business owner list their business. And because there's other things that we can do, right? We all need a little bit of help. And so it's optimized for AEO. And then I also built uh, the Vantage Concierge, which is like a proprietary bot. So if you list your business in Vantage, anybody who comes to Vantage can use that chat bot and it will make recommend. So I'm looking for a carpenter in Everett. And if there is a carpenter in Everett, it will surface that business and it will send that business owner the lead. Um, and then the second part of it is there's a private membership component. So if you join as a member of Vantage, you are able to connect with other Vantage members. And that's important because there is technology underneath all of it that makes proactive introductions. So you take your Vantage assessment. You come on Vantage Voices, which is our podcast. We're on the third episode tomorrow. All of these things, all this data really is collected about you on a consistent basis, and it uses AI and machine learning to be able to make introductions for you rather than the other way around, right? And it looks for things that maybe you wouldn't look for before, or it services things that maybe people didn't do before. So sort of what I was saying is like let the humans be great and connect with each other and do what they do best. But also here's a way for us to get a little bit more intentional, and maybe look at it a little bit differently. So it does many other things, but those are the top three things. And yes, our launch party is tomorrow. And Carmen Best, the former chief of police, went on with me this morning to announce it.
That was a great interview. You really did a wonderful job just laying out, your vision, your passion, your background. Um, so let's talk about this assessment that you have. It's
Mm.
so much fun. So I went on and I listened to the interview. Thank you for sending me the link. And then I went to your website. It's very easy. And then I took this assessment, and it indicated that I am an adventurous ally. And
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, what does that mean? But it was really cool to see that my core value, it would be a value then, right? My core um,
Yeah.
value from the assessment is connection, which is like so true for me.
Hmm.
And the signal is I'm discover, which is
Hmm.
all about asking questions, right? That's how we
Oh yeah.
really learn about somebody else. Third for me was meaning, structure, and conviction, which, again, you have to take the assessment to really understand what that means. But how does that come into play? So first of all, that's a complimentary assessment that you can take, right?
Absolutely.
Only for members.
No, it's complimentary for anybody who wants to take it.
So again, you can go to joinadvantage.co. Is that how I got there? I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, it's Join Vantage. So JoinVantage.co/ and then you don't even need to do the slash because right at the top in the nav menu, it says Vantage type. It also pops up right away when you go to the website. So it's the first thing that you encounter. And that is that's a personality assessment. And from my experience, I mean, I think everybody's favorite subject is themselves, right? I mean, I love a personality assessment and I love to be like, oh, I'm this. What are you? And then, so I think it's a really good icebreaker because a lot of the people who are joining Columbia or Vantage are Columbia Tower Club members. Like 50% of the board is a founding member. Um, but a lot of people aren't. So it's a good icebreaker. And it's a very easy way for us to make introductions based on what type of connector you are. And so you were sort of going into the dimensions that exist, but there's connection, which is the thumb. They lead with warmth, empathy, and relational attunement. I think that's pretty accurate in your case. There's structure, which is the pointer finger, and it's organization, clarity, and systematic thinking. There's conviction, which is the middle. Just leave it at that. It's assertiveness, directness, and confident expression. Then there's discovery, which is curiosity, exploration, and intellectual openness. And then there's the pinky, which is meaning, and that's depth, purpose, and reflective inquiry. And so the assessment goes through a list of 40 questions and it sort of finds where you are in there. And then it gives you your type. So there's 20 different ones that you can be. And I also will say that it depends on what headspace you're in when you're taking it. Right? Like if I take it as like me personally, me, and not thinking about business at all, I get another one. I get the thoughtful rebel. But if I take it as me, entrepreneur, Vantage Rachel, I get the courageous explorer. And they're kind of close, but they're, it can change like some assessments can based on sort of how you're taking, like from what place you're taking it.
I love that you mentioned that because that is so true of those different tests. It's, where your mindset is at the time, like thinking of yourself, what shoes am I filling, as a founder CEO of Exceptional Connections versus Cyndi the gardener, you know,
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
does cause there's a shift in that. So I love that. And so, yeah, I did hear that you're the courageous explorer and that's fun. And then thoughtful rebel as well. Interesting.
Yeah. I was able to this assessment. So the gentleman that I met who sort of mentored me and took me through this whole visioning exercise sort of just met through somebody I know very well, and he actually created the assessment. It's called the Pentatype. It's pentatype.com. And it's basically changed that a little bit, made for Vantage. And now that's how we got to the Vantage type. But I do want to mention that because he's sort of the reason that I'm here today and just being able to learn that I would say that he is an exceptional connector as well. He's all the way in Hawaii, but his name is Brett Moore and he's wonderful too.
Oh, fun. And so your model is based on that and
Yes.
you tweaked it for so yeah, because it was really good. And the you can always tell a good assessment when it asks questions different ways. And because it wants
Yes.
to get, just words can change your perception of what it's really asking. And so
Mhm.
it's confirming the things that really are meaningful to you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
Oh,
if you take it to if you go to slash vantage hyphen types, you can see all the types. As
oh,
I was getting
fun.
feedback, yeah. So it's just vantage hyphen types plural. And I was getting some feedback that I'm this, but it says that I would get along with this person. Can I see all of them together? So you can now see all 20 of them together, and which I think is kind of fun.
So Vantage hyphen types, is that what you said?
Yeah, so it's joinvantage.co/vantage
Oh, still join.
hyphen
Okay.
typed.
Join.
Yeah.
Okay. Joinvantage.co. Let me put that in there. Hyphen types.
Mhm.
It didn't come up for me. I didn't pop.
Can I put it in the chat?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Well, thank you for these tools. These are really fun, really fun. And
Yeah,
I'm excited to be able to learn more about what you're doing. And, I really admire the shift that you've made from, being the general manager of the Columbia Tower. And in the meantime, you were, really understanding, taking a look at the landscape and where it's going. And, I love what you're doing. I love that you're innovating, that you're bringing people together. Okay, so I see it here. 20 ways of being in a room, 5 dimensions of how you connect. 20 signal types, the fingerprint behind every introduction we make. So yeah, check it out, everybody. I'll add these links to the description on this podcast so that you can learn more about what Rachel's up to. And she's again hosting a launch party tomorrow. I'm excited and thank you very much for the invitation to be able to join you.
of
Um,
course.
Along with Kim and Brian. And so, we've talked about AI, we've talked about the big shift, we've talked about, being from invisible to recommended and how important relationships are still to winning and your biggest mistakes and, kind of looking around the corner. So, so let's take a moment and get real. Like what do you envision for the future for yourself with Advantage Voices, with AI to encourage business owners? We talked about simple things that they can do now to make a difference and kind of move the meter, move the dial. So let's just put a bow around our conversation right now so that you can give some encouragement to those who are listening and want to like stick their toes in the AI pool and and truly not be left behind.
Well, I think for me, what I see for the future, starting the business with the savvy digital is so important. And it's nice to have a marketing business when you have a startup, that's for sure. But I think that for me, in the future, Vantage is going to be the full focus. My hope is that it brings the entire region together instead of these silos. It's a network of networks. It partners with clubs that are all struggling. It brings visibility to local businesses. And my other goals are to, what kind of mentorship is there, right? And if we all wrap our hands around this, we can take back Main Street. I think that sounds fun to me. It sounds fun to me, like having a 14-year-old who needs some mentorship and teaching him how to code and use Claude and build his own business and business plan and all those things. And so the dot connector thing to me is very real because it's like, how do we take a 14-year-old to 70-year-old, 80-year-old, 90-year-old? How do we connect all those dots? How do we connect the whole region? How do we connect the city? And I very much believe that AI is a really big part of that. I think it's something that we should champion. We should be well versed on it for sure, do our research. But I think it's going to be the great connecting era. I think the great pause was the great pause, but this is like such an opportunity for connection and helping each other grow our businesses and help and our friendships and all of those things. So I don't know if that wrapped a
Mm.
bow, but this is
No,
sort
I
of
think I
my
think that's
vision.
beautiful, Rachel. Thank you so much because in many ways even different networking organizations, different businesses, it's easy to see ourselves as being an island in and of ourselves.
Mm,
And so to be able to, I love your heart for being able to connect each other we could be autonomous. We can have our own business, our own goals, our own vision for the future. But to be connected is a beautiful thing. And it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be threatening. It doesn't, it's not making your business obsolete. It's actually, we're elevating, it's like Kennedy said, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Mhm.
And really that's the goal, right? To put a line on all of our little boats that go all over the world and can be an island in themselves, but to be able to know when I'm just thinking practically, like when we have a big event, if other people want to piggyback into what we're doing, or if they're having a
Mhm.
fundraiser and we want to do the same thing. But a lot of times we don't know that. Everybody's
Mhm.
setting a date for an event that maybe if we had known ahead of time, we wouldn't have set that date so that we could have um, more groups participate. So I love your
Exactly.
vision for creating community and connecting the dots and wish you so much success with the Vantage and with your podcast and with your launch and just so value your heart for connecting businesses, connecting the world, being able to be an early adapter and not just an early adapter, but being able to help others to understand this amazing technology that we have as well.
Thank you so much. I will leave you with one thing as you were saying that. I was like, oh, this tagline is it. I was talking about this the other day, and I posed the question, what if the new competition were collaboration? And I think that that is exactly what's going to help all of us. And maybe it's a little altruistic in nature, but I think it can be done.
Absolutely. That's my heart as well.
Mhm.
And you were at our last meeting, and I think a
Mhm.
perfect example of that is Kim Pelham is a residential realtor, and she brought up that her heart was craving to have collaboration with other realtors so that they can be able to talk shop and get to know each other and be able to really have that same common language.
Yeah.
And then there's another gal in our group that does mortgages, and so she was kind of being a part of that pod party, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, but I love that because it's not about competition. It's about power partners. It's about supporting each other. And so, what I would love to be able to offer is, Rachel, let's exceptional connections and Vantage. Let's link arms. I want to be a part of your vision. That's my vision also for being able
Mhm.
to, bring us all together and
Absolutely.
and not have those walls that separate us, but as entrepreneurs and solopreneurs be able to support each other in a way that it's not competitive, we're not enemies, we're supporting each other the best we can and moving the needle forward for all of us.
Absolutely. And I would love to link arms any day. Let's do it.
Awesome. Okay, so I love what you just said, but I'm gonna toss it back to you one more time for closing remarks. Is that if there's anything that I haven't asked or we haven't talked about that you feel needs to be said so that those who are listening don't feel like they're missing out.
Yeah, no, I think just to reiterate those, check out the Vantage type, which Cyndi will share. Find out what kind of connector you are. You can also list your business for free. It's at Get Listed right on the front page of the website. And then audit yourself. All of these things are great starting points. And start there, but don't be afraid of it, right? Because it's just like working out, right? It's like, okay, I haven't worked out in 3 months. Oh my gosh. And then you're like, I can't work out today. I can't out today. But it snowballs and you get progress, you get momentum. So just do one thing. And that one thing is good enough.
Yes, and then the test also. What is that? Is there a term for that?
The Vantage type assessment.
Type assessment. Yes.
Yeah. So
No, there's your type
the assess
assessment and then there's your
yeah,
business.
Yeah, so there's this, you could tell I love assessments and audits. There's the Vantage type assessment and the list your business. Those are both on the Vantage website. So
Right.
joinvantage.co. And then there's the free audit, which is on my other company's website. And it's just highlighted pink in the nav menu. So the savvydigitalco.com, and you'll see it right
Okay, I'll
there,
make sure and
front
add
and
that too.
center.
That's what I was referencing, the free audit, because
Yeah,
that way they can get the information to be able to increase their ranking. Is that the correct terminology you would use?
exactly.
And then also can they enlist your services if they want to get a little support with that as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't like to lead with that because I don't want people to be afraid of like you filling out the audit is not going to be me knocking down your door. Right. And so I don't want, but yes, absolutely. If you want to engage with the Savvy Digital with me for any number of things that you want to work on, if you just want to consult for an hour, we can do those things. I love to do it. So check it out first. And if you want me to help with it, I'd be happy to do so.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. This has been such a fun conversation. I have so enjoyed getting to know you. I'm so excited about the future and what it has in store for you. And you're just being a bright light for all of us to collaborate and support one another. So I wish you all the best on your launch. And for all of you that are listening, remember to make every connection an exceptional connection. Thanks so much. Thanks for joining
Thank
us.
you. Bye bye.